This is my 1989 BMW E34, and I hope you don't like it too much because today, I'm gonna ruin it. Aftermarket wheels, aftermarket gear shifter, aftermarket electronics. Have I gone mad? Am I upset that my last video didn't get enough views? Am I sabotaging this car for content? Or do I have a master plan that will be revealed in due time? Do I actually have a vision? Well, let's find out in a brand new episode of everybody, welcome back to TekZek. And believe it or not, it's already been 1 year since I've gotten this car. Yeah, it was only 12 months ago that I was stalling at intersections, jacking my engine through my hood, and pissing off all the Europeans by switching to amber turn signals. Well, today, to celebrate 1 year on this channel, I thought it'd be time to finally give some love to the car that started it all, because recently all my attention has been on my problem child, my E30. But today I have some big plans for this car, starting with a box that I just got from ECS Tuning. What could it be? You thought I was hiding behind the box, didn't you? Now I know what you're thinking. Didn't I literally just switch my wheels 3 videos ago with my dad? Yes, I did. Things move fast on this channel. You gotta keep up. And to be honest, these wheels are in pretty rough condition. A lot rougher than I was expecting when I bought them. Some spots a lot rougher than others. But this car deserves the best, and it seems like ECS Tuning agrees, and that's why they sent me these brand new Alzer 881s. Now listen, yes, they are aftermarket, but I chose them for 3 reasons. Number 1, they look very similar to the OEM style 42s that I already love and have on this car. Number 2, they are taller and wider, which contributes to the new vision I have for this car, which I'll get into in a sec. And number 3, they were free. Thank you, ECS. And even though I have a garage now, I still don't have the technology to put tires onto wheels, which means we're headed to the tire shop, because that's where you go to put tires onto wheels. Or so I thought. Turns out this place wouldn't put the tires on because the wheels were aftermarket, so we actually just ended up with the tires, which didn't help our situation. So we made some phone calls, drove around a bit, and finally found a place that said they could do them. Shout out to Fit Tire. But it's gonna take a few hours to get these back, so in the meantime, we hit the auto parts store to buy a few essential maintenance items because it's already been a year since I changed the oil, so should probably do it again. Now, back when I was a novice, this would have taken a full video, but I'm a pro now. Car up, jack stands in, drain plug out, oil out, filter out, new filter oiled up. Now put the new filter in, replace the drain plug, put the fresh oil in, check the dipstick, make sure no errors, and it's just that easy. I don't know how anyone could ever mess that up. Like literally raised up and poked through the hood. Oh. But let's get down to business, guys. We need to talk about this car because honestly, it's in great shape. The interior still looks great. Everything in the car is functioning properly. It's also been running completely smooth for the last year. So in order to find anything wrong with this car, you gotta look a little bit closer. Now, obviously, there's a dent on the hood from where I jacked the engine through it, and the paint is starting to degrade in a couple of places. Also, the keyholes and some trim are getting older, and the car makes a really awful noise if you turn the steering wheel too far in one direction. But those are not the problems we'll be addressing today, because there's actually 2 problems inside this car that bother me even more than those things, and one of them is the gear shifter. Now, to the untrained eye, this might just look like a normal gear shifter. Sure, it has some wear and tear. There's also like some air bubbles popping up through it or something. Now, overall, it seems like it's in fine condition. So what's actually wrong with it? Well, let me just pop it off here. Not only is this not an M car like this shift knob would like you to believe, but it also doesn't have 6 gears. This car only has 5 gears. Trust me, I've tested it. So today I'm getting rid of this gear shifter and I'm just gonna replace it with a nice OEM shift knob, something kind of normal. Psych! I'm replacing it with a skinny Japanese one. Now, okay, pause the video, leave your angry comment, but listen, guys, this is my first manual car. I want to try something fun. God forbid a man have some fun. But honestly, I still think this will look good in the car. Listen, guys, it's still wooden, okay? It's still elegant. Sorry it's not German or round, but just give it a chance, okay? It just screws on. If we don't like it, we can just take it off. Okay, well, it doesn't just screw on because it wasn't made for this kind of BMW shifter, so it came with an adapter, but the adapter was super easy to install. This actually does just screw on. Then I screwed the knob onto the adapter. If you could even call this thing a knob, it's more of a shaft. We messed with a few different boot configurations to see which one looked best. Bang! Bang! But ultimately decided to leave some metal showing because I think it looks cool, and we kind of had to. Yo, this thing is sick. All right, let's see how it shifts. Oh, dude, like a dream. You've heard of a short shifter? What about a long shifter? But I love this thing. It definitely changes the vibe of the interior a little bit. It's definitely a more stylistic choice than the OEM shifter. But I think it makes the car feel like just a little bit sportier, or dare I even say a little more fun. And that's really my vision for this car, guys. I want to keep it beautiful and classic and vintage in almost every way, but also find some fun, non-intrusive ways to make this car my own. And that's also why I got the fatter wheels. I want the car to be a little more sporty and aggressive while still maintaining its classiness. Will it work or will it just be tacky? I don't know, but I feel like we should be fine as long as I don't install any like weird electronic things. So I got this weird electronic thing, but hold on, let me explain. There's this thing in my car, an ugly thing. This ugly thing. Now guys, this isn't out of focus. This is literally just what this looks like. I mean, what even is this? It's completely busted and is falling apart. It's easily the worst looking thing in this car. I mean, other than maybe this new gear shifter. It also just pops off. It's not connected to anything. From what I can decipher, it's some sort of like electrical thing. You can see some numbers on there for like a reading. I think it's like an old ammeter. I think maybe it measured like the voltage coming from the battery, but it's not plugged into anything and it hasn't been plugged in for a while. So that got me thinking. Honestly, this car has been having some electrical problems. If I don't start it for a week or two, like the battery drains to the point where I can't even start it anymore. So what I'm trying to get at is maybe it's not such a bad idea to have some sort of voltmeter in the car to actually read what level the battery is at, which is why I'm going to install this one where the old one was. But this one should actually work. The first thing we have to check is we have to make sure it actually fits in this box. Oh, it's snug. Now, it seems like this should be pretty simple, but there's only one problem, and that's that I have no idea how to do anything with wires or electronics. I replaced my radio a couple videos ago, but that was just like plug and play. This one, I'm actually gonna have to wire into something. So we're gonna have to figure out how to do that.
Now, let me tell you, this was harder than I thought it would be. My original hope was that I could just run the wire to the fuse box in the back of the car and that it would be super simple, but of course it wasn't.
Okay, that is a lot of wire. So the tricky part is some of these are connected to power that's always on. So even if the car is off, they're still powered, and we don't want that. So we need to find one of these slots that only pulls power when the key is turned on. And I think it's a brown one. So I think I can just pull this out. The battery is off. There's the fuse. And basically we're gonna plug that fuse into here. And now basically we just plug this one in. So I plug this in and now we have a free slot to plug in another fuse, which we can use for the voltmeter. But the first thing we gotta test is if this wire is always live or if it's only live when the key turns on. So I'm gonna plug the battery in and then use a device to tell if this is powered or not.
So like I said, we need to find a wire where this light is off when the car is off, but on when the car is on. But turns out that every single slot in this fuse box was live, so even when the car was off, these were still getting power. We thought about trying the fuse box in the engine bay, but we thought it would be too hard to get a wire through the firewall. There was no clear opening. So we had to find a wire closer to the center console that was already inside the car, and this was harder than we thought. We ended up taking off the entire center console to try to find a wire, but none of them looked like wires we could tap into.
The most work anyone has ever done to install a voltmeter.
We considered tapping into the radio until Dante noticed a cigarette lighter next to the steering wheel. And for some reason, there was already a fuse connected to the wire going into the cigarette lighter. And when we tested this fuse, we found that it was off when the car was off and on when the car was on. So this was our spot. But to make our wire long enough, we had to attach some extra wire to the end of the voltmeter wire, which we did by using these heat shrinking connectors and crimping the wires together. Then in order to hide the wire, we had to drill a small hole into the center console. I know you guys love when I drill holes into original pieces of this car. Then Dante ran the positive wire underneath the interior trim pieces, underneath the dash, and connected it to the fuse using an add a circuit fuse tap. This makes sure that the cigarette lighter would still work as well as the voltmeter. And then all we had to do was test it. So the positive end was connected to power. Now we just needed the negative end to be connected to a ground, and this happened. Yes, the voltmeter was successfully getting power. Now, I was just holding up this wire to a bolt on the car, which is why it wasn't getting constant power. So we properly attached the ground wire to an actual bolt on the car, and then it was time for the real test.
All right, when we turn this should read some sort of voltage. All right. Oh. Oh!
Genius.
And just like that, we got the voltmeter connected and it was actually working and showing a reading. So we put the inside of the car back together and made sure the rest of the electronics were still working properly because we did mess with a lot of wires and fuses, but everything seemed to be normal and this was a success.
But the time has finally come to go and pick up the wheels and see how they look on this car. I also got some spacers so we can see how aggressive we can make the stance without pushing it too far. I'm trying to think of a cool transition to do, but can't really think of one. We don't have time for that. The wheels are already here. Oh my gosh, dude, these things are looking looking clean. You know, I had to ball out and get the Pirelli tires on them as well. But the one thing I immediately noticed when I saw these wheels are freaking huge, guys. I don't even know if they're gonna fit. So they're 1 inch in diameter longer, and then they're 1 inch wider, or they might be 2 inches wider. I mean, honestly, these things are so wide, I don't even know if we're gonna need the spacers. But as you can see, they are very similar to the Style 42 wheels I have right now. And hopefully it'll give us a little more of a sporty, aggressive feel. But all right, let's just see how they look on the car.
Now, swapping wheels is pretty easy. You just loosen the lug nuts, or lug bolts in this case. You jack up the car, you take the lug bolts out, you remove the wheel. Now, usually you just put the new wheel back on. But like I said, I want to see how these spacers look. My wheels right now are pretty far tucked in, so I want to see how big of a difference these make, especially with the wider wheels. So we got the new wheel on the spacer, but we ran into a problem. The tire was already rubbing up against the suspension on the inside of the car. It was way too wide. If we left it like this, the tire would be rubbing against the inside of the car, and I don't have to tell you that that's not good.
Basically, the wheel's too thick, okay? It's too wide, so it's hitting like the inside of the car. So what we did was we put 2 spacers on for, like, you know, extra width, and now it's good. But obviously I don't want to run the car on 2 spacers, so I think I'm gonna have to order a bigger spacer. I thought this was gonna be the easy part of the video, guys. I thought we just put the wheels on. How hard could it be? All right, day 3, the new spacers are officially here. I'm hoping they work because the wheels look so good. But there is still a chance that even with these new spacers, the wheels are just too thick. They're too wide. But I really hope it works, so let's get them on the car. All right, so like I said, right now I'm running 2 spacers on these wheels, which obviously we don't want to drive like that. So basically I just bought 1 spacer that's double the width. But that one installs a little bit differently. You'll see why in a sec. Oh, there we go. Oh. No one saw that. Oh, no one saw that either. So these 2 spacers combined are 27 millimeters, and I know that this gives enough clearance. So I bought this. This is one 25 millimeter spacer. Hopefully the 2 millimeters won't make a big difference, but this one actually bolts straight into the hub, which makes it a lot safer than this kind of spacer. So let's try to get this on the car.
So basically these are just your lug bolts, but instead of putting them through the wheel, you just put them straight into the hub.
I assume I should be torquing these down to a certain spec, but for now I'm just gonna get them in there. Okay, it says do not use an impact wrench. Usually you wait until the wheel is on the ground to torque it to spec so that the wheel can't move as you torque it. But if I put the wheel on now, it's gonna cover these bolts. But I can't torque them now because the whole hub spins.
So to counteract the spin, we had Dante step on the brakes. Then it was easy to torque the bolts to spec. Then just like before, we put the wheel on the spacer and put the lug bolts in. And then we had to check if there was enough clearance. And the wheel was spinning, but it was really close, guys. I mean, we're talking millimeters here, guys. I was able to fit a paper between the suspension and the tire, so I knew they weren't actually touching. But yeah, it's pretty close. Luckily in the back, we have a ton of space. So we put all 4 wheels on spacers and got them on the car. We fully lowered it back down and did one final test to make sure no tires were rubbing. Then we popped the BMW center caps in, took a step back, and wow! These wheels look awesome. You can see the difference between the new front wheel and the old back wheel here. This is back when we only had 1 new wheel on the car. But look at this fitment, much more aggressive and sporty. I love how these wheels look. You can see in this side-by-side just how much wider these tires are, but they're not overly flashy aftermarket wheels, which I like. They still match the car really well, but we still had one important thing to do because this car is dirty and we can't finish this video with a dirty car.
All right, it's time. We finally head to the car wash. We made 3 changes at once though, or I guess 4. We did an oil change too. All right, oils changed, new wheels, new tires, new gear shifter, and new voltmeter. But guys, just in case this like flies off or something, I'm bringing the original one just in case I need to slam it on there in an emergency. All right, let's go to the car wash and really just suss out the car, make sure it's driving normally. You know, every time you install new wheels, you got to make sure everything's good. All right, here we go. Oh dude, look at this gear shifter. All right, we're not quite going fast enough for me to tell a big difference with the new wheels and tires. To be fair, my other tires were less than a year old, so first pull. Oh yeah, car doesn't go any faster. We made 0 performance upgrades. So far, it doesn't feel too different. I wouldn't say it feels grippier, but I also don't feel like the wheels are messed up or anything. Yeah, if I don't touch the wheel, we're going straight. It's not wobbly, which I think is the main thing to look out for. I don't hear anything weird. I don't feel anything weird. Just give it a pull real quick. Go, 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 go. Manual guys when they shift from 3rd to 4th. Yeah guys, I want to say I feel a huge difference with the new wheels and tires, but it kind of just feels exactly the same.
So everything seemed to be working properly. The car was running beautifully, but it definitely deserves to be clean. So enjoy this nice car wash montage. This video was a ton of fun to make. I actually learned so much about wiring and how car electronics work, which was really cool. I also just love something about this new gear shifter and how the car looks with the new wheels. So thanks again to ECS Tuning for sending these to me. And we'll be back soon working on this car and the E30. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.